All right, for this year, I thought I would do some video recordings of all of our garden progress for the year and try to get the whole garden on film up. We'll try for like 1 week updates and see how that goes. So we're going to start with sprouting some pepper seeds. And the way I like to sprout pepper seeds is to start them on wet paper towel and keep them in a clear Ziploc bag and then put them somewhere that's reasonably warm with a night-day cycle. So I keep them on the backs of some LED grow lights I built, and those stay somewhere around 35 degrees Celsius when they're on, and they're on right now, providing lights for onions and celery seedlings. They're on for 12 to 14 hours a day, depending. So they get a good day-night cycle, and I find your easy starting peppers, which would be like bell peppers and any of the sweet peppers, probably, within 5 to 10 days, you should see sprouts in the bag, and you should be able to see the sprouts through the bag. If you hold the bag up against the light and look through it, you should be able to see tails coming out. So you shouldn't necessarily have to open the bag and unfold the paper towel in order to get that, in order to see whether or not they're germinating. And then the harder to germinate peppers, things like ghost peppers, any of the super hots, really in general, I'd say you're probably looking at 2 weeks sometimes. But it's I use this method because I had a lot of trouble getting good germination rates in a reasonable amount of time with just soil, even with a cover and a seed propagation mat and all that stuff. So let's just get down to it and get some done. So the first one we're going to do is some Thai bird's eye chilies. So I just have a little bit of water, spray down the paper towel, generally, and I don't soak it, but I get it nice and damp. And then fold it over once and fold it over twice. That may not be quite wet enough, so just one extra squirt there. And then these are some pepper seeds I harvested from an old pepper plant I had. So we're going to do 5 of these this year. Those, just one seed? Yeah. Okay. So there's 5 there. Try to space them out so that you can, easily distinguish them on the paper towel. And then we'll fold them over, pat them down. The less air that's in between the paper towel, the easier it is to see the seeds, and you can do a test. Just hold the paper towel up to the light. Make sure you can easily identify those seeds. And you don't want water running out of the paper towel, but you don't want to see any dry spots in the paper towel, that's for sure. So, and then I seal it up, across and leave about a 1-inch opening there, and that helps by things don't dry out very quickly, but also it cuts down on your risk of mold possibly forming. All right. So using this method, I usually plant to pretty exact numbers in terms of how many plants I actually want. It's pretty, the germination rate, at least with, oh, there's the extra seed, so we'll throw that in there. The germination rate, especially with this method and with good quality seeds, seeds that aren't more than a couple of years old, I find like probably if you're somewhere around 90% germination rate, normally a little bit higher. I have pretty commonly hit 100% germination on a lot of the different varieties. The nice part about this is you don't, once you start to see pepper seeds germinating, you don't really have to like plant them all at once. You can just have the soil ready to go, and then kind of just inspect these bags every day, every other day, and see when they need to get planted, and then only plant seeds that are actually physically sprouting, which I find cuts down a lot on the risk of like molds that come from the actual seed casing of the pepper. Oh, did that one wrong. Okay. Basically, you can fold the paper towel however you want, as long as when you hold it up to the light, you're still able to see the individual seeds through it. So this is the end of February, like February 28th today, and we are in zone 6A, I think. We're in the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia. So I would have preferred to have my peppers started probably a week ago, at least trying to sprout them. But with this method, I do find I get pretty good germination, like, regardless. And they're under grow lights upstairs. As we do later updates on seedlings and things, we'll take a look at the lights, and maybe I'm probably going to build some more lights this year, so maybe do some videos on how those are designed, and um, why I build lights and don't buy them and all that jazz. Um, and if you do live somewhere in an old farmhouse where it's not necessarily nice stable heat all the time, it's not a bad idea to have your peppers, once they do germinate on the paper towel, to move them into some seed trays, and keep a lid on the seed trays to keep the humidity up. Helps the pepper be able to split the seed casing with the leaves. Otherwise, if those seed casings dry out after they germinate, you can end up with the leaves getting pinched off, and that's pretty much it for that seedling. So keeping the moisture up in the growing environment until they've split the seed casing and at least got those two leaves unfurled, the first two leaves, that would be helpful. And then you can set a good day-night cycle that way for you can, yeah, so you should be able to set a good a cycle of temperature that way. I've got a little temperature control system that just uses a photo sensor to determine whether it's day or night, and then runs different temperatures depending on that. Gives the plant a pretty good approximation of what it would be like to be growing outside. And I do like when I'm planting a fair number of these peppers, I do like to keep them about an inch apart if I can, just because that cuts down on the risk. Like if I have one seed go moldy, it doesn't then end up affecting all of the seeds around it. That's why I'm somewhat particular about spacing them out on the paper towel, so that minimize the risk of loss that way. So let's see what we actually have here. We got mustard habaneros, the Reza Macedonians, Cayennes, Spanish mammoths, Anaheims, yellow monsters, lilac bell peppers, bueno mulatas, and Thai bird's eye chilies. All right, that looks like everything. So we'll take this upstairs and I'll just show you me throwing them on the LEDs.
Alright, so this is upstairs in the transplant area. So these are the lights that I've built. They all have slightly different combinations of wavelength LEDs in them. So this has a bias towards a large amount of infrared light. This is a general combination of blue and red. This has some yellow and green thrown in with it, as does this one. Yeah. We need to build a few more lights, but that's supplements. When I was talking about starting the peppers in soil, this is what I was talking about. It uses this little photodiode here to detect whether or not it's day or night, and then you can set the day and night temperatures individually. And then it just has a little temperature probe that I put in the soil, and plug a seed propagation tray into it. And that will take care of the moisture content and stuff like that. And then throw a plastic lid on top of it in order to keep it moist in there. So up here we have onions, down here is celery, but the main reason you're here is to see this. So I generally throw them somewhat over top of each other, well, not over top of each other, but so that the paper towel is never overlapping another paper towel, but the plastic can overlap. So the backs of these lights hover somewhere between, I would say, 30 degrees, 35 degrees Celsius is probably the average temperature for them, and then they do shut off. So I can put those all on the back with one light, and then I'll just show you. Check those lights off for a minute. Bring you in closer a little bit. So basically that's the kind of idea. And then they hang out back there on that light. And I'll bring you back in probably within a week's time to take a look at the progress we've had, and I'll keep track of my germination rates so we can look at how successful I was for every different variety that I've done. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.